I started to move my body in a way I couldn't do before.
The world is in a tough state right now, and I feel like every time we get on the stage, we get to kind of lighten that load.
That was very, very, very powerful.
The dream is to show people that no matter what age you are in life, your dreams can still happen.
America's Got Talent returns June 2nd on NBC and Peacock.
With breaking news.
That breaking news is from Garden Grove, where residential evacuations have now been lifted after a toxic chemical spill. And good evening, I'm Kathy Vara. Carolyn is off tonight. The industrial area is still evacuated, and streets nearby, they are shut down. NBC4's Darsha Phillips has been on that scene all evening and brings us more now on how this unfolded. Darsha.
Yeah, Kathy, the chemical that spilled is highly flammable and possibly explosive. So the focus for the past several hours was to keep the chemical cool. Thankfully, the Orange County Fire Authority says the operation was successful, but there still is a lot of cleanup to be done.
Residents near the 12,000 block of Western Avenue in Garden Grove were given alarming news around 3:30 this afternoon.
I heard there's an unknown chemical spill, so they're evacuating the whole neighborhood.
I didn't know what was over here. Like, I mean, the factories, I didn't know. So if they say we could blow up, then I'm gonna go.
A 34,000-gallon tank containing the highly flammable chemical methyl methacrylate began leaking, sending toxic and possibly volatile vapors into the air.
The company actually creates acrylic plastics for the aerospace industry, and that's the reason for the chemical.
Residents and businesses within a half-mile in each direction of the spill were evacuated. The company's sprinkler system and water streams from the Orange County Fire Authority were used to cool the chemical and keep it from reacting.
The problem with this chemical is it is a possible flammable liquid, and it does have exothermic properties.
By 9 p.m., the OCFA said the operation was successful and lifted the residential evacuation orders. Industrial cleanup crews will now work through the night to offload the chemical.
Now, it's not clear exactly what caused the chemical to leak out of its storage tank. The OCFA says once the chemical is offloaded, there will be an investigation into exactly what happened. Reporting live tonight from Garden Grove, I'm Darsha Phillips, NBC4 News.
Darsha, thank you. Now to updates on several fires burning across Southern California. The largest is the Sandy fire, now in its fourth day after starting in Simi Valley. Tonight, the fire is 40% contained at more than 2,100 acres burned. NBC4's Macy Jenkins live in Simi Valley as firefighters continue to gain the upper hand. Macy.
Well, Kathy, this is my third day in a row covering this fire, and I have to tell you, this feels like the weather firefighters have been waiting for. Cooler temperatures, higher humidity, and a lot less flare-ups for firefighters to have to suppress.
Critical improvements in Simi Valley as the Sandy fire has gone from chaotic hotspots on Wednesday to controlled mop-ups on Thursday after cooler temperatures and increased humidity allowed more than 1,000 firefighters to gain ground on strengthening containment lines.
So today, as we look around, we don't see those flare-ups because we had the appropriate resources in place to tackle that.
Faye and Chuck Yates evacuated after the fire broke out Monday morning.
I couldn't even breathe. The smoke was so heavy and the wind was just blowing the smoke our way. All I could do was pray.
But it seemed like you had a fire and it would build and they'd put it out and then there'd be another one.
The couple of 50 years is now back at home, along with thousands of others, after many of the evacuation orders were lifted on Thursday.
How are you feeling now? We can breathe. I'm just grateful. I can't say enough thank you to the firefighters.
And while Simi Valley schools remain closed,
are you safe? Yeah, we're fine. Good.
Local families lined up at campuses across the district to get 2 free meals handed out by concerned teachers and principals.
Very, very challenging. We had to evacuate. I live on the east end. So yeah, it was really hard with the kids. I got 5 kids.
They're getting lunch and it keeps a little bit more of the stability and the schedule that they're on for the school stuff, and it's nice that they can do this for them.
Simi Valley Unified will be giving out additional meals tomorrow between 11 a.m. and 12:30 p.m. That's at Barrelwood Elementary School. Now, classes will resume on Tuesday morning after Memorial Day weekend. Reporting live in Simi Valley tonight, NBC4 News. Kathy?
Some good news there, Macy. Thank you. Fire crews are making major progress on the Bain fire in Jurupa Valley. It is now 60% contained at nearly 1,500 acres. It broke out on Tuesday. Tonight, more evacuation orders have been downgraded to warnings. And to the north, forward progress has stopped on the Alta fire near Gorman. This one started just after 2 o'clock this afternoon, burning a little more than 300 acres. So we're going to get the very latest on conditions right now firefighters are going to be dealing with as we go forward. Let's check in with meteorologist David Bigger. He has more on that.
Well, Kathy, the main thing is that we're looking at some cooler conditions, a thicker marine layer, and that means that the humidity will be increasing around some of these fire areas. All good news to firefighters. Another thing we're starting to see across the region is improving air quality. Here's a look at the map across the area now. You see that a lot of that yellow coloring, indication of moderate air quality, but we're getting these pockets of this green, and you can even see some of these circles. These are observation sites that are green. That's an indication of good air quality. And I think for tomorrow, for the most part, we're only looking at moderate air quality at the worst. So we're probably not going to have all that much smoke in comparison to the past couple of days. In fact, for Orange County, we're looking at good air quality. And if we do have a little bit of smoke out there, I expect it to go away pretty quickly by the afternoon, and we're looking at continued improvements getting into the weekend. Another improvement, if you're not a fan of the warm temperatures today got into the mid to upper 80s across some of our inland spots, low 80s around downtown. But over the next couple of days with that thickening marine layer, we're expecting temperatures to cool off. I'll take you through that coming up in just a couple of minutes. Back to you, Kathy.
David, thank you. New tonight, a Culver City man who formerly worked for a nonprofit dedicated to helping the homeless has been arrested on a federal drug-related charge. The DEA released video of the arrest of 42-year-old Christopher Johnson today. They say he was found with fentanyl, meth, and knives during a traffic stop near MacArthur Park earlier this month. He is being charged with possession with the intent to sell drugs. Johnson worked for PATH, the homeless outreach organization, until last September, but the feds say he was posing as an active employee in that area. He is expected in court tomorrow. A 4-year-old girl is in the hospital after falling from a 5th-story window in Long Beach. It happened outside an apartment building on Long Beach Boulevard last night. Neighbors say a woman was walking past the building when the child fell right in front of her. That child was rushed to the hospital across the street. We talked with neighbors who saw the aftermath.
There was a child about 3 or 4 years old. She was laying on the ground. She was bleeding out of her eyes, ears, mouth. When they were taking her in the ambulance, the mother had finally came out. You know, it took her about like 10 minutes, 10, 15 minutes just for her to even come out of there. She was saying she was in the bathroom. She was like, "Where's my baby? Where's my baby?"
Police are still trying to determine how the child got out the window. And we're trying to find out the cause of NASCAR great Kyle Busch's death. NASCAR confirmed his death today after his family posted to social media saying he had been hospitalized with a severe illness. In a statement, NASCAR said in part, Kyle was a rare talent, one who comes along once in a generation. NASCAR lost a giant of the sport today far too soon. He had just won a Truck Series race last Friday. Kyle Busch was 41 years old. Well, President Trump is calling it an anti-weaponization fund, but some lawmakers call it $1.8 billion in taxpayer money set aside to pay Trump allies who say they were unfairly prosecuted by the Biden administration. Corruption at its finest, including some Republicans.